Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Allie.
And we have got the conclusion of the WSL season. This weekend, it came to a close. It always feels like it's so long and yet so short. And it's so short. I would say it's the conclusion, almost. It's the conclusion. City are champions. There are no more WSL regular season games. But we have the fun, brand new, only one-time playoff match that we will discuss all when we get into the WSL. We're also, of course, going to talk NWSL. It's going to be fun.
Sarah thinks the playoff game is fun. I still think it's stupid, but I don't like playoffs.
Well, we'll get to it in a second, Allie, when we get into the WSL. But before we do that, a little bit of housekeeping.
Yes, housekeeping. So, our season 8 will run through until Wednesday, June 3rd. We are then going to take our season break a little bit earlier than we normally do because there's no summer tournament for us to look at. The NWSL is going on pause for most of June because there is another tournament that happens to be happening in the States. And the WSL is finished, so we're going to take our break. We will then return 2 days before the NWSL comes back, so that would be Wednesday, July 1st. You're only going to miss us for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, only 3 weeks. Also, we'll discuss this when we get to the NWSL. It'll be interesting that I feel like the NWSL only takes breaks in the middle of the season when there's like a major international tournament that a bunch of players are playing in. But this is a break and a break for all, like not international tournament time. It is, but for the men's side. So we get to talk about how that's going to impact these NWSL teams. I think it'll make an very exciting season, even more exciting in the back half, and even better soccer, honestly, because it'll just give these teams like a whole month to work on what they need to work on. But we'll come on to all of that. Should we just jump right in?
We should.
Let's get right into it. WSL, City are champions. We discussed that last week, but they did the trophy lift. It's official. You saw the trophy lift. Leicester City are relegated. But are they, Allie? But are they? This is the playoff game we're talking about. The inaugural Women's Super League promotion/relegation playoff will take place Saturday, May 23rd. Okay, same day as the Champions League final. And it will be at 12:30 British Is it British summertime or standard time? I never know. I feel like it's summertime for you guys, right?
It is summertime because the clocks went forward.
If you're in the United States, that's early. It's early. So the third place team in the WSL 2 will host the last place team in the WSL. So Charlton will be hosting Leicester City. A few weeks ago, we did a whole segment on this because the WSL 2 had a wild finish. Charlton come out on top. Allie, if I remember correctly, when we spoke about that, you think Charlton will take it over Leicester City in this game. Is that right?
I do. I still do, because I think Leicester have had a bad run. But I'm going back to what you said about, well, you know what, you've got a team that's used to winning, which is like the third place team, compared to Leicester City, that haven't won all calendar year. But Charlton went on a really bad losing streak towards the end. That's why they ended up third, because they were absolutely dominating first place. So to be honest, I don't know anymore. I think my money would still be on Charlton.
I think my money's on Charlton. But this is the fun moment where we get to see how, a top of the table WSL 2 team compares with the last place WSL team. I think I'd be shocked if Leicester won this, also because they're playing away at Charlton. But hey, we'll see. That'll be on BBC 2 and Sky Sports in the UK. For all of us in the United States, whip out those VPNs. Time to do it. It's a big day of football. You will be watching both this and the Champions League final. I cannot wait for the Champions League final. But let's talk about this WSL season, Allie. I feel like we got to get into everything. Speaking of the bottom of the table, West Ham and Liverpool are safe for now, but now there's 2 teams joining because it's WSL expansion. We're moving from 12 to 14 teams, and 2 teams will be relegated this next season. This is the last time I ask you this.
I'm sick of you asking me this. I'm so sick of you asking me this because my answer doesn't change.
You think that they're safe, even with the big news that Gory is leaving?
Yeah, no, Gory's leaving. But if you think about it, she barely played because she was injured for most of the last half of the season, and Zellum took her place. Now, I hope we can, and there's a sentence I never thought I'd say, but I hope we can keep Zellum because she made a massive difference. But again, you look at the different, West Ham were 10 points clear of the bottom. Liverpool was 7 points. There were definitely teams that, could have been dragged into that relegation battle. I don't think it's easy to say it's definitely going to be West Ham, Liverpool down the bottom. I really don't.
Okay, maybe this leads us into, we were going to do this later, but should we just rip through? We were going to talk about, like, briefly, most rapid fire from first place to last place. Like, let's run through the table and have a brief one sentence on each of these teams. Poor performers, good performers, whatever first comes to mind. Of course, Manchester City, they come in first place. Go for it. First thing that comes to mind.
Flawless is the honest answer. They held on to that lead, only had a couple of losses, and were absolutely phenomenal. So flawless.
Yeah, I was going to say deserved. So well deserved. They were in the first spot starting in match day 8, I believe it was, and they never slid out of first after that. Just deserved. Arsenal came in second.
Disappointing. Trophyless this season, letting a fair few players go, which we'll talk about. This was not you're second, but it's not a good. It was not a good season for Arsenal. When you comparatively, and also, I'm sorry, I realised I called you trophyless, and you did win the club cup or whatever it was called.
We don't count that.
No, we do not. Yeah, no, not good.
Yeah, I feel like it weirdly, even coming in second, feels disappointing. It kind of feels like, okay, how long have you been at this level? Like, it is time to level up. And last season was disappointing in the in the WSL. It was obviously made better by a wild Champions League run in which they were champions of Europe and won the entire Champions League. So it's hard to remember that it was a tough regular season, but it kind of was. And yeah, it's been too long since Arsenal have won the WSL. All right, Chelsea.
Poor. Really, really poor. They won the Sandwich Cup. Good for them. But the performances were shocking. Even their wins were shocking. Like, they had a couple of really good, convincing ones against bottom of the table teams. But when they came up against their counterparts, they weren't good.
Yeah, turnover is kind of the word that jumps out to me. They've lost a lot of people. This felt like a big kind of last Emma Hayes era is now leaving, and it's a brand new era for Chelsea and maybe a little bit of a rebuild. All right, Manchester United.
Skinner out.
Skinner. Yeah, they finished 4th. They're 9 points behind Chelsea in 3rd place. So they were not really even close to a Champions League spot. Oh, disappointing. Manchester United, I think, might be the biggest disappointment this season, just because we know how good this club has the potential to be, and they just aren't. Disappointing. All right, Tottenham came in 5th behind United, 4 points behind United.
Surprising in a good way.
I agree.
Because most of us had them down in their relegation battle, and they Martin Ho knows what he's doing. They signed pretty well, and just really managed to galvanise these players. So yeah, well done, Tottenham.
Every other year, basically, we see Tottenham in this place, though. And then the following year, we're like, okay, and now they build on this. And then they don't. And they end up back at the bottom. They have to rebuild back up to where they are now. And so here we are once again. Can you build on this, Tottenham?
I have a feeling it's going to be different this year.
This is a toxic relationship, Allie.
No, and I don't support Spurs. I'm like, very much a West Ham fan. But I feel like Martin Ho is the difference. They finally got a manager that really knows what he's doing.
All right, I guess we'll find out. It'll be different this time, said Allie. London City Lionesses in their inaugural season, finishing 6th. Was it Champions League in their first year, like Michelle Kang very publicly said? No. Is it still a fantastic finish for a team in their first ever season? Yes.
Well,
no, come on now.
The thing is, right, with them, I will say that, you know what, yes, they are the team with the most points ever from a newly promoted team. I will give them that. However, if you look at the list,
you're gonna say if you look at the players.
No, not even well, yeah, if you look at the players, but if you just look at their results, they only lost 2 less games than the bottom for both West Ham and Liverpool, the one that you were saying were going to be relegation fodder. They 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 did well against teams around them ish, and didn't do very well at all against the top half teams. They need time to gel. I get that. They did all right. It was all right. It wasn't spectacular. It wasn't anything to write home about. It was all right.
All right. I feel like this is interesting because they come in 6th. Brighton come in 7th, just 1 point behind London City Lionesses. But I feel like you're going to say you were more impressed by Brighton, despite the fact that London City were brand new to the WSL and still finished in 6th. But you're still going to say that you are more impressed with Brighton?
Correct.
It would make it make sense, Allie.
Because Brighton showed up against big opposition. They beat Manchester City. They knocked Arsenal out of the FA Cup. They've got themselves to an FA Cup final, they've got a real chance of taking that. So they've got a real chance of silverware.
But don't say they have hardware yet, though.
I said they've got a real chance of silverware.
I know, but I feel like you're kind of like touting them as if they already have some silverware this year.
They've got a chance. They showed up in big games. They showed up against the big teams, which we haven't seen from Brighton before. So they had a really good season by their standards.
For the first time in a long time, I enjoyed watching Brighton this year. I feel like Brighton fans will understand that. They probably feel similarly. All right, Everton come in 8th, 3 points behind Brighton. They're just meh to me. I have very little to say. Yeah.
They were hit or miss. Friend of the pod, Brian Sorensen, didn't have the greatest run.
Yeah. We were rooting for him too. We really enjoyed him.
And they signed some great players. And there were certain players that had phenomenal season. Like Ruby Mace was brilliant for them, defensively. So, but they were, and you know what? It was the first season in the big stadium. I'm hoping they can build on that and it become a little bit better. But they were just a bit. Meh.
Yeah. All right. What about Aston Villa?
Lord knows with this team, and this is the way I think this, because they can beat anybody on any given day. We saw that with their performances against Manchester United. They came very close to beating Chelsea in that crazy 4-3 game. And then, you know what? They lose to Liverpool and West Ham. And yeah, so who knows?
They need a fresh start. They just need a fresh start, I feel like. I don't know. It felt like it was a new era of Aston Villa back. I don't even know how many years ago at this point when Rachel Daly came in and they made some good signings. And it just feels like they need a little bit. They need a shakeup in some kind of a way because it's not working. All right, West Ham. I feel like we already did it. Do you want to add anything or you want to move on?
I'm just going to say it was a game. It was literally a season of 2 halves. We will die under Jan Skinner. Our new wonderful Italian Rita came in, and that really did bring in, and we signed well in January, which seems to be the story of West Ham. You do poorly the first half of the season, and then we do well in January.
Yeah. West Ham finished just 1 point below Aston Villa. Liverpool finished 2 points below West Ham.
It's a Gareth Taylor managed team. What do you expect?
This is what we were saying about Gareth Taylor when he was at City, and now we just kind of get to see it because he doesn't have the buying power of City. All right. And finally, Leicester City, 2 wins, 3 draws, 17 losses. Oof. On the season, only 9 points. They will play for relegation or non-relegation on Saturday. Thoughts?
I mean, it was really shocking, and they did sign some good talent. You had Rach Williams come in, Sarah Mailing from Villa came in. They really did have some good talent. I do honestly think the biggest problem they had was there was no investment from the club. There was just no investment and that's why that happened.
All right, we have to talk about the victors. We talked about City last week, but I do want to bring this up because I've seen some.
You're going to have to get in your head to start calling them Manchester City, because if Leicester do beat Charlton and Birmingham come up, there's going to be 3 cities within the.
Okay. Manchester City, as we've said, won the WSL for the first time since 2016. Here's what I want to discuss, because I've seen a lot of chatter around this. First of all, a huge congratulations to Manchester City. As we both said, deserving, incredible season. Bunny Shaw is the Golden Boot winner. She's the first player to score 20 or more league goals in 3 different WSL seasons and the only player to win the WSL Golden Boot 3 times in a row. This makes it 3. So we need to talk about this because there's been a lot of rumors that Bunny Shaw is leaving. Of course, the infamous when City actually captured the WSL title this year, they took down Chelsea, but Chelsea fans were chanting at Bunny Shaw that they will have her next year, basically. So there's rumors that Bunny Shaw is moving to Chelsea. And there's a lot of discourse essentially saying that Bunny Shaw was very undervalued by City while she was at City, and thus the move. For somebody who has won the Golden Boot now 3 times in a row, the only player to do that, do you think there's truth to that discourse right now?
Yeah, because there's so much different stuff coming out we don't know. Because some are saying that Chelsea are going to offer more money. I think the big story that people are saying that I have a feeling because the way Manchester City work is that Chelsea are willing to offer a longer contract. So Chelsea are willing to offer a 4-year. Man City only want to offer a 2-year. So it's to give you that. I don't think she's undervalued by Manchester City. I really don't think she's undervalued. I think she wants job security. I get that. Football is a thing. And the thing is, if she fails at Chelsea, not saying she will do, but if she doesn't hit the numbers at Chelsea, they're more willing to sell her on either at a loss or buy out her contract. Manchester City aren't willing to do that because they don't put that much up, which is why even your best players are constantly on 2-year contracts that get renewed because they won't do that.
It would be a replacement for Sam Kerr. It just would be if she does go to Chelsea. The Bunny Shaw thing it's very layered because for many years now, Allie, before Bunny Shaw even won her first Golden Boot, we spoke a lot about how this is a prolific goal scorer who is not being advertised by the WSL, is not being utilized by her in terms of marketing, is not really being celebrated, honestly, like worldwide, like she should be, as the prolific goal scorer that she is at a top club in a top league in the world. And why is that? And it always comes back to this very layered aspect of it. And I mean, how much Bunny Shaw and how much racism Bunny Shaw has endured in the WSL. It's just always been kind of a question mark to, I don't want to speak for us, but to me as to why Bunny Shaw is not, on every poster, on the back of every jersey you see. She has been the prolific goal scorer of the WSL in a WSL that has had, Sam Kerr pre-ACL. Like, the peak of Sam Kerr was there as well. And I think people forget how prolific Sam Kerr really was in her prime too. Like, it's just kind of a wonder to me. And that's why that rhetoric stuck out to me, because I was like, is this her being undervalued by City, or is this the league-wide thing we've been talking about the whole
I was going to
time?
say, I feel like it's league-wide because, and we'll talk about this when we do my team of the year because I went through some things. But I think it's a league-wide thing because obviously because Manchester City weren't winning, they weren't like winning titles, they weren't winning FA Cups and the Sandwich Cup and things like that. I think there was a lot of cool, you're scoring a lot of goals, but your team's not doing much, and so therefore
Isn't that more impressive, though?
yeah, but the thing is, it means it's not going to get your name anywhere because everybody's going to be looking at Russo at Arsenal and Blackstenius winning the Champions League. So it's why we do the other 8, people. It's why we do the other 8.
Bunny Shaw would be, for all kind of like intents and purposes, the like replacement to losing the firepower of Sam Kerr, which obviously we know Chelsea have been missing Sam Kerr when she's been recovering since she's been recovering from her ACL. But like that's been Sam Kerr's spot since she joined Chelsea. And officially she announced that the end of the season, that was her last game at Chelsea. She scored a great goal in her final game in a Chelsea shirt. It was beautiful. I watched many, many reels or videos of like a compilation of so many goals Sam Kerr has scored in the WSL. And I just need to say, first of all, I really do think people forget how prolific Sam Kerr was. Like, how lucky we got to see that. Anyways, the rumors are she's leaving. She's going to the NWSL. I thought it could be fun for us to maybe talk about which teams we think would fit. And this is like This isn't even rumors. This is just us having fun with like which team would she fit in best with and why. Shall we do it?
Yeah, why not? Go on, you go.
Okay. I don't even know where to begin. I've heard a lot of chatter of people saying she could go to Boston. And listen, Boston fans, don't take any offense to this. Obviously, we understand the personal ties to Boston. However, Sam Kerr is what, 33 years old?
Yeah.
We're going to assume she's probably in the latter years of her career. Why do you want to go to a team that is brand new, that has no established anything, that's probably not going to win while you're there? If I'm her, I want to go somewhere and I want to win. I would just want to win in my last years. Do you agree with that?
I do.
Is this just going to be me?
No, because I've got a curveball one.
Go on.
Orlando.
But see, I've heard people say that, and it's like they're not going to play like dual nines with her and Barbara Banda.
But they could and they should.
They wouldn't, and they shouldn't, because those two play way too similar. They play way too similarly. If I'm Orlando, I'm not doing it. I think that that's not what Orlando need right now. They need defense.
Orlando do need it because they can't just rely on Barbara Banda.
That's true. That's true. But maybe get somebody who doesn't play Barbara Banda's position who can also score. What else have you thought of? What other cities?
She could go back to Chicago. I know you say about winning, but she is a legend at Chicago.
She's a legend at Chicago, but like, talk about winning. We're not going to Chicago if we want to win. The other one that's interesting is Seattle. She played under Laura Harvey in the NWSL before she moved to Chelsea. They seem to have a good relationship. While Seattle aren't necessarily like in the top spots in the league right now, you never know. Seattle's never had, at least that I can think of, like, when was the last time Seattle had like a true number 9? I don't think we see her going to San Diego. LA could be interesting, but for my personal reasons, I just don't want that.
I don't see her at LA. I don't see her at San Diego. I don't see her at any of the California teams.
What about Utah? This is a curveball. This is my curveball. Think about how powerful Utah could be, though.
Yes, but she's got a wife now and a baby. Going to Utah?
Maybe not. People have said Gotham, and I think that's...
Gotham's too stacked.
They're too stacked. It's the same reason I would say no to Orlando. It's like, well, they have Esther. They have Esther Gonzalez. Why would you bring in Sam Kerr?
Yeah. Portland, maybe?
Portland's interesting.
Portland? They're on a run at the moment. She wants to win things.
Portland's interesting. But again, now that Sophia Wilson's back in full swing,
you can have more than one number 9, you know.
That's true. I could see them playing together way better than I could see that her and Barbara Banda or her and Esther Gonzalez playing together. That would be lethal.
But I feel like Portland, in terms of location and team, would be a really good fit for Sam Kerr.
Houston would be interesting, but I don't see it happening. But I think that she could add a lot. I think that any team that gets Sam Kerr, I mean, I don't know how to say this. Like, take wherever you would finish and move yourself up at least 2 spots. I think that's what the reality is of this. Dang. All right. Well, time will tell. All right, Allie. Finally, to close out the WSL 2025-2026 season for us, with the exception of the playoff game, give us your best 11, your team of the year for the WSL.
Right, so I've gone team of the year, and I've done my team of the year slightly differently. So before people yell at me for my team, because I've done it based on players and what they've brought to their respective teams and why they're the. Because if you're gonna know, there's some notable names missing, and you're gonna be like, what?
As opposed to what? Like, as opposed to how somebody else would build their best 11.
As opposed to like stats, as opposed to stats and like, so like for example, my goalkeeper of the year is Brighton's goalkeeper, Nadozi. And the reason is because of what she's brought for Brighton. She has elevated Brighton's defence astronomically. She has probably been the signing of the year for me in what she has done. Yes, she's made a few little errors here and there, but she was up there for Golden Glove. She was like chasing the pack. So for me, that is my number 1 goalkeeper. Sorry, Hannah Hampton.
I love it. I think that's a great selection. All right, let's talk back 4. Give us what formation do you have us in?
Yeah, we're gonna 4-3-3. That's the way, man. Back 4. So right back, it's Casper Ray at Manchester City. Okay, she was up there for number of assists. She defensively is really strong, and she's just an overall phenomenal player and was very key into Manchester City's success thing. I will say Emily Fox was a close second.
Fair.
Letizia
And?
and Jade Rose of Manchester City.
Ooh, okay. You had to give Letizia her flowers. I understand.
I have to give Letizia her flowers. Also, she has, I think it's an undubious honour of playing every single minute in the WSL for Manchester United.
Pretty wild. That's a feat.
That's a feat. Is it an honour? I don't know. I don't know if that says more about Manchester United's depth than it does about her tenacity, but...
In the NWSL, we call it being an Iron Woman.
Oh, is that what it's called? Well,
yeah, you get the Iron Woman award if you play every minute of the season.
Well, Letizia, I believe, is the only player to have done that. So she is the only Iron Woman of the WSL.
All right. And who do you have in the left back?
Alex Greenwood.
Oh, had to be. So 3 out of 4 were City, huh?
They were really good defensively. Like, I argue with that. You know, they had such a good goal difference. So you know, that back line was steady. And we are going for another City player when we go into the midfield.
All right, let's go into the midfield. Who are your 3 midfielders?
So my first one is Yui Hasegawa.
Had to be.
It had to be Hasegawa. Hasegawa is one of the most beautiful, underrated players in the league. Like, what she does often goes unnoticed because it's off the ball work as well as on the ball work. And I was talking about this with some City fans over the weekend, and we said if certain powers that be weren't, I called them racist, but you know, well, I'm going to go with that word. She would be up there for like Ballon d'Or. She would be up there for like major awards, except for it's European centric, I think is what we're going for. If
let's say more European centric, yeah.
weren't more European centric, she's
a prolific player. All right, who are your other 2?
Okay, so I had to throw in a West Ham player in there because of course I did.
Oh my god. in your best 11, or you put Katie Zellum in there?
Of course I did not.
You put somebody other than Katie Zellum from West Ham in the midfield?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, who?
The one that is up for goal of the season, that won Hammer of the Year, won goal of the year at the Hammers, Una Siren, or Una Siren, if we're giving her a full name. I told you this was about what they brought for the team they played
brought
for.
For the team. Sure. Okay, yes. Sorry, I had to recalibrate that.
Yeah, you have to recalibrate that. And
okay, what did she bring to the team?
She was what peak Gori was, in the fact that she would go in for every tackle. She put her body on the line. She scored a couple of amazing goals, including that one against London City, which went over every defender. Like that lob, like I said, that goal is up for goal of the season, period, the end. She was just a little Energizer bunny that basically our goal difference would be even worse if it wasn't for her.
All right, and who is your 3rd and final midfielder?
Fran Kirby.
I love how you went heavy on City in the back line, and then you put no players from any of the top clubs in the midfield. It's hard to argue with Fran Kirby of it all. She's still Fran Kirby.
She got the assists to get them to the semi-final of the FA Cup. She has been phenomenal for Brighton when she's been fit.
All right, and tell me about your front 3.
Bunny, obviously. I'm not an idiot. It had to be.
That would have been the one I was going to fight you on.
No, it had to be Bunny Shaw. Like, again, prolific goal scorer, is up there with the assists. So yeah, had to be Bunny Shaw.
It's tough though because Alessia Russo had a fantastic season.
Not in my top team.
Yeah, I figured if you had Bunny Shaw in there. That's why I'm like, it's a bummer. All right, Who are your other 2? Who are your 2 kind of wingers?
Kirsty Hansen, because she was second in the Golden Boot race. She has been phenomenal for Villa. And the fact that Spurs apparently are on the hunt for her does not surprise me.
Okay, and finally,
Olivia Smith.
She's fantastic. So we could also call this Allie's Best 11, attempting to make a Best 11 with as few top 3 clubs as possible. There are no Chelsea representatives in this. There is one Arsenal representative.
Name me a Chelsea player that deserves to be in that list.
Ooh.
In the official one, they put Millie Bright, and I just went, no.
No, that's absurd. Did Millie Bright even play enough minutes to be in the best 11?
No.
What about LJ?
Okay, Lauren James I could see up there.
For sure. I mean, LJ is like, you could make an argument that LJ is the best player in the world right now, period, the end, like full stop. So she's got to be up there. All right. Well, that's it. That was WSL and Allie's non-bias, except very bias towards the bottom of the table. Best 11. We loved it. Thank you for putting that together, Allie. Let's go around the world. Around the world, around the world.
To Germany, and Eintracht Frankfurt have claimed the third Champions League spot. Despite valiant efforts from Leverkusen and Hoffenheim, the 4-2 win over Union Berlin was enough for them to go into the playoff rounds.
And to Mexico, we have our Clausura champions. Two exciting legs in Club America beat Monterrey 3-1 on aggregate to win the title.
To Scotland, and Glasgow is blue. Rangers beat Celtic and have confirmed Champions League for next year. The title, however, will come down to the final day. Rangers will face Glasgow City, whereas Hearts will take on Hibs.
And finally, to France, we have our playoff set. Lyon will take on Paris FC to see who takes the League One title. Lyon got there after beating Nantes 8-0, while Paris FC beat local rivals PSG 1-0.
This episode is brought to you by Nordstrom. Whether you're packing for a vacation or dressing for a wedding, Nordstrom has head-to-toe looks for wherever summer takes you. From swimwear and bold color to romantic florals and dresses that make an entrance, find the right style for every unforgettable moment. Shop new arrivals from brands you love like Farm Rio, Free People, Vince, Wait, and Stod. Plus free shipping and returns and styling help whenever you need it make it all so easy. Shop now in stores at Nordstrom.com or download the Nordstrom app.
Girl, winter is so last season. And now spring's got you looking at pictures of tank tops with hungry eyes. Your algorithm is feeding you cutoffs. You're thirsty for the sun on your shoulders. That perfect hang on the patio sundress. Those sandals you can wear all day and all night. And you've had enough of shopping from your couch. Done hoping it looks anything like the picture when you tear open that envelope? It's time for a little in-person spring treat. It's time for a trip to Ross. Work your magic.
Over now to the NWSL. So we had the midweek games this week and weekend games. So it's all kicking off until they finish for June.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. Midweek games today, Wednesday, when this drops. Weekend games, but then no midweek games next week. Just weekend games. It'll be fun.
You excited?
I'm excited for these games. I'm sad that the break's coming so soon. I mean, like, we kind of talked about it in the intro, but we can talk about it here now. It's not normal for there to be like this big 4-week break in the middle of the season when there's not a major tournament. So, I mean, these clubs are going to be able to utilize 4 weeks of time. That's not preseason. They already have a lot of data that they can take in and just hone in on the details and work and practice for 4 weeks. It'll be great for teams who are very injured.
Well, no, because you've also got in that break qualifiers for the World Cup. So a lot of international players will be going to their respective countries. So I believe England will definitely be taking on Iceland and Spain in their World Cup qualifiers. So there will Europeans at least, and then I know the US national team will probably do a couple of friendlies because they will probably play Japan again.
So I guess you're right. It's not a full 6 weeks.
There'll be a couple of solid weeks where they can really like hone in on that, but there will be some international play.
All right, fair enough. It'll definitely impact the second half of the season. I'm curious how. Like, momentum's a real thing, but also getting to hone and like work on everything is a real thing. Time will tell. Big news out of this past weekend. Also, Mallory Swanson made her a return. Great to see her, if even for those last, few minutes of the game. Really excited to see the return of Mallory Swanson, who Chicago have just desperately missed for a long time now. There's an example of like this break will help. It'll give Mal Swanson like an extra 4-week padding to really be able to return to not full strength, obviously, because games, you can't ever mimic game situations, but that's just another extra 4 weeks that If the season was continuing, Chicago would be building her back in, and now they get to do that in practice without her missing any more games. So that's good.
That is huge. So we love that. So should we talk about Wednesday's games?
Let's talk about it today, because you're listening to this podcast today, Wednesday, when it drops. There are 3 midweek games.
There are 3 games. There are Houston versus San Diego. There are Portland Thorn versus Bay FC, and it's Angel City FC versus Kansas City.
There's much to discuss here, Allie. I'm very interested in the Thorns Bay FC matchup, to be totally honest. Thorns obviously sitting pretty. They're tied on points, 20 points with Utah. Both of those teams are just 1 point behind San Diego Wave, who are in first place. Portland have been rolling. However, their last 2 games are a loss and a draw. Bay FC also kind of like technically unbeaten in the last 3 games, but a win and 2 draws. They're coming off of a game against Boston that, I mean, beyond St. George's got a red card at the end of the first half, and Bay still couldn't get the win, playing a player up for, an entire half.
I just want to get into this because this is her second.
Yeah, in a very short period of time.
Yeah, this is the second. You're not even halfway through the season. This is her second, so that means she's going to miss more games. So that's fun for them for a start. I've got here, right, so I like looking at stats when it comes to like the discipline stats and things like that. Would you like to hazard a guess who's currently topping the discipline table?
As in, like, who's gotten the most foul? Who's been awarded the most fouls? In terms of teams or players?
Teams.
Now that you're saying that, I mean, it's Boston.
Correct. They have 23 yellow cards, 2 red cards, and 2 of the red cards are Brianka St. George's. The next one down is Bay FC, who have 17 yellow cards and only 1 red card. And they are the worst. Everybody else is normally in the 10, between 8 and 10 in terms of the points that they've got.
They play a physical game. Anybody who watched their game against Gotham saw it, in plain sight right there. That was a well-deserved red card, for the record, awarded to Bianca St. George. Like, that was studs up into the knee. You're done. I don't care if you got the ball.
Yeah, it was on Hutton, right? Because it was a nasty challenge. Like I normally I argue red cards as being harsh, but that one I was like, no.
Really, really deserved. Yeah, off you go. And it's not like we're saying that was intentional. Like I said this just recently. Like, I have, in my playing days, I remember making a slide tackle. The referee gave me a yellow card and was kind of like, your boots were really high. You're lucky you didn't, that you weren't really going into anybody. It was just kind of the ball was there. Otherwise, you would have been sent off. And I was starting to argue, and my teammate was like, no, your boots were really high. And I was like, oh, I had no idea. Sometimes sometimes you don't know. So, not saying it was intentional, still saying it's a red card. But the bigger thing here is just that, if you're BFC, you need to win that game. It's tough to look at the scoreboard and say we were up an entire player for half of this game and we couldn't put the ball away. And yes, a low block is hard to break down. Yes, we know this, and you have to do it. And Bay FC, at the beginning of this season, we were like, oh no, this back line is struggling, but at least they can score. And I feel like it's flipped now, where it's like the back line is starting to gel. Now they can't score. So where are the goals going to come from if you're Bay FC? So this will be an interesting one. Portland does not respond well to the high press. They have some lingering injuries. We're not sure necessarily who's going to be available. Bay FC has to go into Portland. I think that Bay, if they put on a high press and capitalize on their chances, they have a chance here. But it's a big 3 points. Bay FC have 2 games in hand. They've played 8 games as opposed to everybody at the top of the table has played 10. So if they win outright those 2 games that they have in hand, that catapults them 17 points. That'll put them just below Gotham and above. Well, Kansas City have a game in hand. So just below Gotham, basically, they'd be in 6th place. So it's all to play for here. These are big games for Bay FC.
Absolutely massive.
Yeah. Houston, San Diego will be interesting. San Diego, obviously, at the top of the table, but the losses that they've suffered are against teams that you wouldn't necessarily think that they would lose to. For example, they lost to Bay FC.
this is the question I have about San Diego, because, yeah, they're top of the table. Like you said, they're playing lower ranked teams and are not having the greatest of performances with them. So I'm slightly concerned.
Houston have been struggling of recent, but yeah, I mean, you never know. I guess we have to say, speaking of San Diego, we have to give them their flowers because they are coming off of a huge win against the Washington Spirit. San Diego beat Washington. So Washington lost their first game in 8 matches. This was only their second loss of the season. Their only other loss was the first game of the season when the infamous Portland came into Audi Field, did a little smash and grab on March 13th. That was the only loss that Washington had suffered until San Diego. It was an 8-game unbeaten streak, which is big. We have to briefly talk about what San Diego Wave posted on Instagram after that, which I find hilarious. I sent it to you. Did you find it equally hilarious?
No, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Did you understand it?
I'm aware that is Wile E. Coyote.
Okay, we need to explain this. NWSL fans, lock in. Lock in. We need to explain this to Allie. Okay, for those who didn't see, San Diego Wave posted a pink background with a splat of Wile E. Coyote, and the caption says, "That's all, folks." And it says, "No way, Jose." Okay, so that's the part that you don't get. So, Washington Spirit have, when they came into Bay FC, I think it was like the second or the third, maybe the third weekend of the season. They were laughing because there was apparently this like fake coyote, like a decoy coyote, like a scarecrow, but a coyote, as a way to deter other coyotes, apparently, from wandering in and out. Welcome to Northern California, everybody. There's a lot of coyotes around here. And they were obsessed with it, and they called it their good luck charm. And when they got back, they said that I don't know if there's an owner or their GM or somebody was like, "You love it? We'll get you one." So somebody bought this team like a fake coyote, and they named him Jose, and they have been traveling around with Jose, and Jose is now their mascot of the season. It is their good luck charm. They celebrate after wins in the little winning circle on the field with Jose. It's the cutest thing in the world. If you haven't seen it, you need to go look. They are having the time of their lives with this little fake plastic coyote that they have named Jose. And so that is why San Diego Wave posted with a big Wile E. Coyote splat and said, "No way, Jose."
So the final Wednesday game is Angel City versus Kansas City. Now, Kansas City have been slightly on an upswing, but they're still concerning.
Yeah, well, they got Temo Shawinga back, so that'll help. Concerning, yes. If Temo Shawinga is there, maybe not as concerning. Temo Shawinga was coming off of a hat trick in which Kansas City won 3-0. And then in their most recent game, Kansas City also won 3-0 against Houston. Temo Shawinga had 2 goals. If it sounds familiar, it's because it's basically like exactly what has happened with Orlando, except when Barbara Banda scores a hat trick or a brace, they still don't win. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of Kansas City still right now. I think it'll be a great game. That much we know. Angel City had a hot start, but they have not had a win. You look at their last 5 games, it's 4 losses and a draw. Like, they have been on a downward spiral, and they need something to help bring them back up. It's going to be a tough matchup against Kansas City. It just is, but it'll be a really fun game.
I'm excited.
It'll be a really fun midweek game. It might get a little bit chaotic, but we love that. And it'll be in LA, which of course we all know will be great for Angel City. So it's a great home crowd there.
So the big one, I will say, it's quite sweet, is that Denver have won 2 straight games. And Boston are on a 5-game unbeaten streak. So unfortunately for Chicago, they are back on the bottom.
Yeah, poor Chicago. Just 1 point below racing. I think the question here is, like, are they finding their strides? It's been really fun to watch both of these teams play of recent. We talked about Boston and, like, yeah, they play a really physical game. but it's also a really exciting game. Like they're fun to watch. I think the criticism across the board for Boston going into this season was they brought in only international players, basically. Obviously, it's not only, but like the majority of this squad is an international player that has never played in the WSL. And a lot of people were like, you can't do that. You're not going to thrive. You need somebody who knows how to play in the NWSL, like who knows how to win in this style of play in this league. And honestly, the first many games, they proved those haters right. And they just seem to now be finding their way. Maybe all of these players who were not used to the NWSL are now starting to get used to and learning the NWSL. And so we'll see what could happen. I still think that this is a team that they just need a few more puzzle pieces to really contend. But it's now a team that instead of thinking they're going to lose every game, it's a team that you're like, oh, they're going to put up a fight. And kind of any game seems like a game that they could get points off of.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
As for Denver, what a blast it's been to see Janine Sonis like come into her own. She has like put this team on her shoulders. It's funny to hear Nick Cushing talked about her when she was at City, and he literally was like, she didn't speak when she was at Manchester City. He was like, she would show up and she would train and she would leave and she wouldn't say a word. And now he's like saying, you know, she wears the captain's armband. She's a vocal leader. She's a leader on the pitch. Like she scored in the past 3 games straight, I want to say, if not at least 2. She has been massive for this squad. And it's been really fun to watch them gel. And they have. They've won their past 2 games straight. It's going to be a big test, what they have coming up this weekend. But you have to also remember that this is a team that they don't have to get through too many more games. And then Lindsay Heaps will arrive. And she is going to be such a key addition to the midfield. They've got their goal scorer. Like Kusla has been outstanding for this team. It's not a question of where our goals coming from for Denver. Like I'm going to look right now. I think that they've only been shut out twice this season. Yeah, they've only been shut out twice this season, which is a feat. You look at their last 2 games, they scored 4 against Houston, they scored 3 against Orlando. The games before that, they scored 2 against Boston, 2 against San Diego. Like, it's not a question where their goals are coming from. They have a ton of goal scorers. Their backline is starting to gel, but you add somebody like Lindsay Heaps in there. Also, this is a team who's been on the road so much in this first half of this season, and they will be at home a lot in the back half. So those 2 things combined, like, this is a team that's going to make a run at the playoffs. I said that before the season started, and then when I first saw them in the first 2 weekends, I was like, oh no, I was wrong. And now it's come back around, and I'm like, okay, I think they can make a run at the playoffs.
I think what is unspoken about Denver, and I think is a huge thing for Denver, is if you look at the backroom staff that Cushing's put together, all but one worked with him in some capacity at Manchester City.
Yeah, that's huge.
So apart from Angela Salem, who is an American player and played in various teams in the States before coming over, you've got Alan Mannon was his assistant at Manchester City. Karen Bardsley is obviously Karen Bardsley, ex-England #1, was his goalkeeper and is their goalkeeping coach. James Mitchell is their video coach. He was at Manchester City with them, as was Julie Twaddle. So he's basically brought a team that he knows so well and knows what they can do at Manchester City, added the experience of Angela Salem, and I think that is helping grow a team that's brand new, because if you're not having to learn your coaching staff style, if you've got that all sorted, then you can really focus on your players. And I think that's what Denver have got right, and Boston and maybe a couple of other teams need to learn, perhaps.
Speaking of goalkeepers, by the way, you talked about England's ex #1. This is a Denver Summit team that has like kind of an embarrassment of riches in terms of goalkeepers. People might not know this because she's been riding the bench, but France's #1, Pauline Perrault-Magnin, is on this team and brought in to duke it out. But really, I think everybody assumed she would be the starter. But Abby Smith got to start the first game of the season and has just the vet of the NWSL has held on to this spot because she's been playing so magnificently, and their goalkeeping play has been one to watch. So a shout out to their goalkeeping coaches as well. That's it. Everybody tune into those midweek games. Houston, San Diego, Thorns Bay FC, Angel City, Kansas City. It'll be a blast. And then obviously a huge weekend of soccer across the board. NWSL, Champions League, the WSL playoff match, Champions League final, Allie.
Yep. Big, huge.
Can't wait to discuss next week. And that's it for us here at the Women's Soccer Show. I've been Sarah.
And I've been Allie.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.